So, greetings, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're tuning in. My name is Cosmas Barasa, and I'm a medical laboratory scientist. My work involves diagnosing or determining what conditions, what diseases someone is suffering from, and to also guide the treatment options that the doctors are going to be giving you as a patient, for example. And I work in the medical laboratory setup, and we do what we are calling medical diagnostics from the laboratory using some scientific studies on blood, on tissues, on a lot of fluids that can be able to be obtained from the body so that we can determine the presence or the absence of diseases. I did an undergraduate basic training in medical laboratory sciences. I have also specialized in epidemiology and disease control at postgraduate level, and also specializing in a second field, which is the major one now in the field, called Histocytopathology, which is just the disease diagnosis at tissue and cellular levels. So we are involved in a team of healthcare professionals, including nurses, doctors, pharmacists, both handling different aspects of healthcare. And we provide the diagnostic basis upon which decisions are going to be made. If it's a tumor that's going to be removed, we determine whether it's cancerous or it's just benign. It's just located in one place, so that we know that if surgery is going to be done, then it's going to be an effective surgery. It's not going to be a waste of resources because maybe this tumor has already spread elsewhere, and it is useless to do surgery on the primary site where the tumor was. We also inform the choice of antibiotics that are used to treat common bacterial infections such as urinary tract infection, upper respiratory tract infections, pneumonia, which is bacterial determined, and other conditions that are specific. So the lab can be able to determine which drugs are actually best for those particular cases through special procedures that we do at the background, behind the curtains. And this is very important because it helps in controlling what we call antimicrobial resistance, which is a global public health issue. And we have limited antibiotics. And if we develop all resistance, if the pathogens or the bacteria develop resistance against these available antibacterial agents, then we may not have an option to choose from on alternative antibiotics, because the rate at which manufacturing of new antibiotics is happening and the rate at which resistance to already existing antibiotics is happening is unproportional. That's why it's important to limit the issues of drug resistance. Now, we know that knowing the prevalence or the incidences of diseases inform the control measures. This is why it's very important to determine the occurrence of different pathogens. For example, episodes of, you have heard of, monkeypox, you've heard of cholera outbreaks, you've heard of typhoid outbreaks, you've heard of Ebola outbreaks. Those are things that can be able to be determined in the lab and inform the public health measures to the general public so that they can be able to know how to handle themselves in different situations and how to avoid this spread of these infections altogether. So this information is available from the lab, and it is very important to know about it so that you can be informed on how to handle yourself in case of a possible exposure to these particular pathogens. Now, so those are some of the things that we deal with in the medical laboratory, and we do a lot of things, especially also in determining the compatibility of the blood. For those guys who need blood transfusions, we obtain the blood, we determine whether it's safe, we also determine whether it's compatible between a recipient and a donor, and we ensure that the right person is receiving the right blood component. Even in tissue and organ transplantation sciences, we also determine which person has the right organ to transplant to which person. So we determine those kinds of compatibilities through compatibility testing, which happens in the laboratory. We also determine the presence or the absence of cancers, especially the most common one is the cervical cancer in females and the prostate cancer in males. And those are some of the things that we'll be able to do in the background of the labs. And we know the prevalence of these conditions in different communities. So this is very important that we have to make this knowledge known out there, and so that we can be able to enlighten the communities, we can be able to enlighten each other to live healthy, comfortable lives, avoiding these conditions and ensuring that we are implementing preventive measures rather than treatment measures, because prevention is actually better than cure, which is the approach that the government has taken towards primary health care, where we are now intending to control diseases before they occur as compared to treating whatever that's already existing. So welcome to the channel, and this is just a brief introduction to the Diagnostic Lens. And we're going to be looking at different topics with different experts in the field, and we hope that we're going to have an enjoyable moment as we learn and interact, as we also lead comfortable and healthy lives. Thank you so much and feel welcome to the channel.